Hat Tricks are finally back at home after winning 3 of their 5-game road trip over in Michigan, 2 against the Port Huron Prowlers and 1 against the Motor City Rockers, as they're set to take on the Hudson Valley Venom in a rescheduled road matchup and then a home matchup on Saturday here at the Danbury Ice Arena. With Matt Voity, Wyatt Kopelman here for the 8th installment of Hat Tricks Weekly here in the Hat Tricks Lounge here in Danbury. Matt, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. Now the Hat Tricks, they're coming off that dominant win. Vadim Frolov, he had a season-high 2 goals, and then one of them was the game winner, also featuring Jonny Ruiz's 300th FPHL point as well. How do you believe your team pulled it off when you needed to get those scoring chances that converted upon?
I think we just committed to doing what we need to do to be successful. I think that was probably the difference between night 1 and night 2. We should have won night 1. I think that was a very winnable game for us. We had 2 leads, I think 2 2-goal leads, and that's a game that we need to win. I think one of the learning curves with this team has been, understanding, hey, this is what we need to do to win, and then going out and doing it, and not kind of being a bag in the wind about it. Just coming out and being assertive with how we play. And I think the last couple weekends have really solidified that for this group.
You mentioned just the learning curves that this team has taken on, and of course winning 3 of a 5-game road trip is crucial to stay in the battle in the Empire Division standings, but particularly with what Vadim has done to get situated in professional hockey and his role within this club, what do you believe has allowed him to settle into what he's provided on that line for the most of the season?
To be honest, I think some of it is playing with 2 countrymen. And, obviously I think adding, Vasi the last couple of weeks here has helped him a bunch too. But I think when you have that familiarity, the same kind of thought process, I think it helps a lot. I think, I know it sounds kind of obvious, but you can't underestimate when you have, I think maybe more so with Russians, that familiarity that you have and that continuity you have with a line like that.
What excites you most about that line with Bandurkin and Gamzatov with the collective success they've had so far?
I mean, Gams just plays with a lot of character, I feel. I think, all of them really pay attention to both ends of the ice. I think that's what's really impressed me about Bandurkin is, obviously we see him score goals and he's got a great stick, but his back checking, he's very hard to play against. He'll come up behind, just strip the puck, go the other way. He's defending, pretty well. He's still learning on that end of it, but I think the attention that they put to it really shows.
Bandurkin has been exceptional with what he's provided. They've also just had a certain uniqueness about the way that they play on the ice, forechecking at times, even with just the opportunities they create for themselves on the scoring chances. How do you believe this line stacks up against some of the best in the league, whether it's Binghamton, Watertown, those kinds of opponents you've seen thus far?
Wow, it's different. I think when you look at some of their top lines, they're a little more unique. I think this line we have the size, but I think we have, maybe we have a little more skill. I think it's very close. Kind of the way we look at it is we kind of have 3 first lines right now. I think that line is, being our de facto first line compared to those lines. I think they're only going to get better, and they're young. I think they're going to pose a big problem for those teams in the next couple months.
So as your team now has a good stretch behind it now, winning 2 against Port Huron and then winning against Motor City, this is a Venom team now called Venom HC that you haven't seen in 6 weeks, and that was the team's first road win of the season. What do you believe you can expect that'll be different with this kind of matchup here at home?
I was just kind of looking at their games quickly. I think they're going to be a little more competitive than they were. Maybe everything kind of calming down with them has kind of calmed down the team. But I think with any team in this league, you have to respect them and you have to respect their ability to beat you on any night. And, we have to come out, like I said earlier, ready to play the way we need to play to win.
This is a team that has dominated with the power play scoring that it's begun to accumulate. We talked about it last week, but one area that the team at least seems to try to improve on going into this weekend is the special teams with the power play goals. It's allowed 5 power play goals, or goals in 5 of the last 6 games on the power play, rather. How much of a priority is that this week in practice as you look for something to tune up going to this matchup?
Our PK, you mean? Yeah, of course, it's a big priority. I mean, it's we had a pretty good swath of time there where our PK wasn't getting scored on, and then we left, what was it, 5 and 6. 5 and 6. It's you don't always need to push the panic button or really refocus on it. I think a lot more is done in film and just kind of understanding stick position and maybe being a little more familiar with the team that you're playing against too. Like we played bingo in Watertown almost seemed like every other weekend. So Motor City was like all of a sudden, I mean, they were a completely different team than when we saw them in October. So I think just a little more film time, a little more focus on the ice, and I think that helps correct that.
What do you believe we can expect to see for that to have a sense of assurance it's been fixed upon and hopefully can remain the way it is, should it play out that way this weekend with the adjustments made?
So you're asking like what will show up? I think no goals. I mean, I think our penalty kill being spotless will be huge, and I think we're doing a good job of staying out of the box with it. But I think our penalty kill, just pitching shutouts, particularly against the team that's below us in the standings, will be huge.
And Jonny, Ruiz mentioned it earlier. He had his 300 FPHL point earlier this week. He had a major assist on that go-ahead goal, or the second goal of the game. How do you believe that relationship has built between you and him as he stepped into his new role this year, and then, of course, you're in the general manager role now?
I think it's grown pretty well. I think, it's a very unique situation we're in, and we had to kind of feel some things out at first. And, I think the biggest thing is just transparency and just reiterating, like I said to them, when you come to the rink every day, you have to protect the culture, and that it really ultimately starts with me as the GM. And just having that communication, that transparency, and that open door. Like, what if they have to feel comfortable coming to me with an issue and comfortable enough that I'm not going to go bite their head off, or whenever we have a disagreement, it just has to be aired out professionally. And of course we're going to disagree. We're three different human beings ultimately. It's just all in how you communicate it, and make a case for your cause. And I think for the most part though, like Jonny and I, we were with Billy for 5 years. We tend to see things kind of the same way, and he understands where I'm coming from, and I understand where he's coming from, and we kind of understand where one guy ends and one guy starts too.
I know you've coached in college. Jonny has played for this club since its inception in 2019. Gonzo has had a strong voice, not as just a blue liner, but with what he's looked to help build with this culture. What have the conversations been like between the three of you when it comes to keeping this team on the right track with still such a long stretch to go in this season?
I mean, I think, when we come in, we always ask, okay, what do we need to work on? And we come to a consensus about, okay, what do we need to prioritize? What do we need to hammer out here in practice? And for the most part, we're hockey. It's not rocket science, right? Like, you might have some minor things, but for the most part, we're seeing things the same way. And when it comes down to how do you want to correct something, or how do you want to work on something, I think once you've been around the sport long enough, you figure out there's more than one way to skin the cat, right? Like, and as long as you're open to that, and things are getting hit the right way, and it's fundamentally sound, then it's really not a problem.
Speaking of having a fundamentally sound priority or mindset going into games, especially early on in this season when team is still acquiring some new players. Charlie Bedard's back this year. Noah Robinson also provided a spark in his first couple of games with the club. What excites you about having that kind of leadership to keep everybody, especially those that are in their first or second year with the club and in professional hockey, on the right track mentally going into games?
I think it's huge. I think you can see, in maybe different relationships where it's been huge. I think Josh LaBelle has had a great influence on Jeremy Rocky since we put them together. I think Jeremy's grown a lot, and a lot of that's to Beller's credit. I mean, everyone deserves a lot, could deserve a lot of credit, but I think, Belsey deserves a lot of credit for that. I think, Jonny and Gonz obviously, helped the younger players a lot. I think even a Vassy, with the experience that he has, helps a lot. I think Corey helps a lot. I think, one of our philosophies, one of our mantras coming in was everyone's got to lift the weight. Everyone's got to get their hand on the barbell and pick it up, right? So, maybe if your game's not going, you're trying to help out a younger guy and get him going, right? So it's kind of that shared ownership of our success.
And Corey Anderson, although he hasn't been the biggest point contributor, he seems like just a key cog when it comes to giving this team the support that it needs, whether it's on the bench, on the ice as well. What do you like about having his leadership, even though he was out of hockey over the last 2 seasons as well?
Well, I think he has a pretty good sense of self-accountability. He knows when to take responsibility for mistakes, and I think he backs it up when he gets on the ice. If he hasn't played in a couple shifts, or if he hasn't played the game prior, he wants to go out and make a statement, and I think that's something that's great for everyone to see, and it gets the boys going.
One thing that this team has done well is bounce back from adversity, even when it gives up early leads. When it looks at, or when you consider the importance of scoring early against Hudson Valley, what jumps at you about their tendencies in their back check and also with what they bring on their front lines?
The importance of scoring first?
Yes.
I think it's important for us in any game. I think I don't think you want to put too much on it, because then it's like, if we don't score first, then it's like, I think scoring first in any game is important. It just sets the tempo. But like I said, I think at this point, we want to come out, have good starts. You can't always necessarily control whether or not you score first, but you just want to make sure that you're executing the right way. And obviously we'd love to score first every game. That would be ideal.
Connor McCollum, he won back-to-back in starts for the first time this season. He made 29 saves on Saturday, and as you got the pressure that you got on Ricardo Gonzalez, a very familiar goalie to go against, what did you see from Connor in his latest start that you believe can translate to this weekend? I
think MC's just been pretty dialed in. I mean, he's compact. There's not a lot of excessive movements. I think he's handling traffic a little bit better. He's just been very, very calm in net, and just he brings that presence to the rest of the team and calms everybody down.
And how exciting is it to see the fact that your team bounced back from the overtime loss on Friday against another Motor City team that's trying to hang around with Binghamton Watertown after the first 15 games gone in this season? You bounced back really well.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think it was a surprise to me. I thought we played a good game on Friday. I don't know if we were, like I said, if we came out with the right mindset that we needed to have. And that's just, it's a small shift, but it's a huge shift, especially in professional hockey and against teams that are going to compete to the final buzzer. You have to come out, you have to come correct, and you have to be ready to go. And it wasn't a surprise to me. I think it's just part of our learning curve right now, and I think we're trending the right way. I think we're getting better and better every week. And I think that was just another learning experience, and I think the boys figured it out.
So the Hat Tricks, they play 2 against the Venom this weekend. The team has a different coach at MJ Merkel after the departure of Josh Newberg. We'll continue a tradition here on Hat Tricks Weekly. There's one word for the Hat Tricks in order to pull off 6 points and not just 3 this weekend, featuring the adjustments the team makes. The Hat Tricks can pull off those 6 points if X happens.
If we come out like savages.
If they come out like savages. Well, the Rabbits hope to come out of the hats like savages as they host the Hudson Valley Venom tomorrow and on Saturday as well. Matt, thanks for your time this week.
Thank you.